Being readied inside the Senate chamber for their arrival, and the trumpets blare. And the Governor General takes the throne. This is, after all, the speech from the throne. And she invites all those in the room to take their seats, and this now begins the process where the invitation will be sent down the hall to the House of Commons for MPs to join them in the Senate chamber. The Speaker of the Senate, Noel Kinsella.
Ici de bâton noir, rendez-vous à la Chambre des communes. Et informez-la que
Please inform them
plaisir de son Excellence
that it is the pleasure of the Governor General that Her Excellency the Governor General attend her immediately in the Senate chamber.
Usher of the Black Rod, we will proceed to the House of Commons and acquaint that House that it is the pleasure of Her Excellency, the Governor General, that they attend her immediately in the Senate chamber.
So the invitation goes out from the Speaker of the Senate through Black Rod is the name that is associated, Kevin MacLeod. Distinguished public servant, has been in this position for the last couple of years. Not only does he look after all the details of days like this in terms of protocol on the speech from the throne and the opening of parliaments and parliamentary sessions like this one, he's also the Queen's Secretary in Canada, and therefore he's busy working on the details of Queen Elizabeth's upcoming visit later this year to the country. So he now begins the walk from the Senate chamber to the House of Commons chamber. You'll notice that most of the decorations on the Senate side are in red. On the House side, after going through the rotunda, they're in green. I've always felt the floor was much shinier on the Senate side, and that was deliberate. I'm told, no, it's not deliberate, there's less travel on the floors in the Senate than on the House side. It's a little duller they're still, it's not like they're not clean, it's just shinier down there at the Senate. This is the rotunda area. We've hosted election nights from here a couple of times. It is spectacular, and for the many of you who've been to Ottawa, you know of what I talk when I say that. It is quite the area. In fact, the whole Parliament buildings are something to behold if you get the opportunity to get here. So past the rotunda area, which led down the Hall of Honor towards the Parliamentary Library, just off down towards the right there, Black Rod now walks down the area known as the Prime Minister's Row. It's a gallery of pictures of all former Prime Ministers. And you'll see them slipping by at the side there as he heads towards the House of Commons. Lester Pearson just going by there on the right, Nobel Peace Prize winner Louis Saint-Laurent. Still haven't seen our mystery guest yet. Most number of speeches from the throne. When we do, I'll tell him he's the answer to today's trivia question. So he arrives at the doors of the House of Commons, which are closed up, and guess what he does? That's right. 3 knocks on the door. Inside the rowdy House of Commons. They've all been waiting for this moment. Doors are open. Sergeant-at-Arms Kevin Vickers in the House of Commons.
A message from Her Excellency, the Governor-General.
Sergeant-at-Arms will take that message that the Black Rod has a message from the Governor-General to the Speaker of the House of Commons, Peter Milliken. See whether he wants to hear it. And the message was the Governor-General wants all of us down at the Senate chamber right away. And that's what now will happen. The Black Rod arrives inside the House chamber.
Monsieur le Président, c'est le désir de son Excellence le Gouverneur général que cette honorable conférence se rende immédiatement auprès d'elle à la Chambre du Sénat. Mr. Speaker, it is the wish of Her Excellency the Governor General that this honorable chamber attend her immediately in the chamber of the Senate.
The invitation's been given. The Speaker, that's him in the background, about to put his hat on. Peter Milliken, MP from Kingston. Elected as a Liberal, but elected by all members of the House of Commons to be their Speaker. He's been Speaker now longer than anyone else in the history of the Canadian Parliament. So he's done this walk behind Black Rod a few times himself. And the procession towards the Senate chamber will now take place. A couple of cabinet ministers there. That's Gary Lunn, the Minister of Sport, just behind the door on the left there. And I saw a lot of him. We all did in Vancouver over the last few weeks, as he spent a lot of time shuffling from area to area watching Canadian athletes. So here come the procession. That's him right there, coming through. And they come in a real mix here of MPs, cabinet ministers from all parties. They don't sort of go in any particular order. They just come out. And you'll, again, like Stockwell D, Jack Layton, you see lots of familiar faces. John Baird. Let's see how many... let's stick with this picture and see how many people guess the person who has attended in their senior parliamentary role more speeches from the throne than anyone else of the current crop. Assuming this person is here today, that gives you a big hint it is a member of Parliament. Who might it be? Haven't seen them yet. Here's the lead part of the procession. if you're wondering why we're not telling you everything that's in the speech from the throne, it's partly because it's technically embargoed until the Governor General begins reading it. But keep in mind, speeches from the throne are kind of the broad outline of the government's agenda. This is the recalibration speech from the throne. In 6,000 words and an hour plus of speaking, one assumes the outline is going to be pretty broad, but with some detail. Michael Ignatieff, the leader of the Liberal Party, who's a little over a year in the job, has been one of interest as he's watched his poll numbers go up and down and up, as has the Prime Minister. It's been quite the year in Canadian politics. And we'll see what impact this day has on all those numbers in the next little while, because everybody sees to see things through the filter of whenever that next election may be. So as many MPs as can get in the Senate chamber behind that railing will do so. The rest will sort of cram outside in the Senate lobby or not even bother coming down, because there just isn't that much room anymore. Certainly not in the way it was originally designed. Serge Joyal, Joyce Fairburn, former Liberal campus senators, to now more Conservatives. Just 50 to 49, there are a number of independents. But first time, numbers-wise, the Conservatives have the majority in the Senate. It gets a little more complicated than that when voting comes around, but in numbers, senators, the Tories have the advantage. Well, the speech is going to start. If you're wondering who it was, it's Gilles Duceppe, leader of the Bloc Québécois. We haven't seen him yet, but this will be his 11th speech from the throne that he's been in the job for. It's the separatist leader of the Bloc Québécois. Here's the Governor General with the speech from the throne.
Honorables sénatrices et sénateurs, Mesdames et Messieurs les députés,
The House of Commons,
Mesdames et Messieurs,
ladies and gentlemen,
nous sommes un pays où les
we
citoyennes
are
et
a
les
country
citoyens ne
whose citizens
reculent
do
pas
not
devant
turn
les
back
obstacles.
when confronted by obstacles, whatever they are,
Un pays où les citoyennes et les
and
citoyens
never
n'hésitent
shrink
jamais à
from
apporter une
lending a
forte
helping
aux plus
hand
démunis.
to the most disadvantaged wherever they may be.
Les effets de la récession mondiale
Through the
ne sont
effects
pas
of the
encore
global
entièrement
recession, and though the effects of the global recession have not fully faded, Canadians are demonstrating a spirit of generosity that is a harbinger of hope to the people of Haiti, the poorest country in the Americas, which has been shaken by a disaster of unprecedented scope.
Le monde dans lequel nous vivons demeure fort.
The world we live in remains strong because of the ties of solidarity that we, women, men, and young people, forge among ourselves, and because of the care we show toward one another.
Winter Olympics and upcoming Paralympics remind us there are also circumstances when festive hearts and the sharing of a common humanity are our greatest hope. I know Canadians will continue to care, and that spirit of solidarity will redefine their sense of sharing as efforts are made to support the economic recovery. We gather for a new session of Parliament at a time of both great uncertainty and great optimism. Uncertainty because Canadians still feel the lingering effects of a recession that was not of their making. Optimism because our country has weathered the storm better than most, and because Canadians over the past year have shown the world as never before both our capacity to care and our capability to act. The agenda our government laid before Parliament just over 1 year ago is largely in place. Through Canada's Economic Action Plan, our government took decisive steps to protect incomes, create jobs, ease credit markets, and help workers and communities get back on their feet. As we begin to see modest improvements in growth and employment, the task before us today is to finish the work begun last year. Jobs and growth remain the top priority. Our government will complete the second year of Canada's Economic Action Plan, guided by extensive consultations with leaders in business, industry, and everyday working people and their families, and make refinements where necessary. At the same time, Canada is poised to emerge from the recession powered by one of the strongest economies in the industrialized world. Therefore, our attention must also encompass the new measures Canada needs for success in the modern economy. This will require a return to fiscal balance, securing the strong budgetary position that distinguishes our country from so many others. Bien que le travail qui nous attend
While
soit
the task before
considérable,
us is great,
l'ingéniosité,
the
la
ingenuity,
détermination,
determination,
la
and compassion of Canadians are greater.
Nous veillerons à ce que le Canada
We will
demeure le
ensure that
meilleur
Canada
endroit du monde.
remains the best place in the world to raise a family.
Nous continuerons à défendre
We
ceux
will
et celles
continue
qui
to
ont
stand
contribué
up
à
for
la
those
création
who built this great country, and we will forge ahead in building a Canada that is strong and united in a changing world.
Les Canadiennes et les Canadiens ont affronté les
Canadians
défis
have
de la
confronted the
dernière année,
challenges of the past year in the same way they have always
soit
met
en faisant
adversity,
appel au pragmatisme,
with
à
pragmatism,
l'ingéniosité et à la
resourcefulness,
coopération.
and the spirit of partnership.
Qu'ils travaillent dans le secteur forestier ou
From the
manufacturier,
forest floor to the factory
les
floor,
Canadiens se serrent les coudes pour
Canadians
résister à
have
la
rallied in the
recession
face of the global
mondiale.
recession.
Les entreprises ont trouvé des
Businesses
nouveaux
have
moyens de
found new
s'adapter
ways
aux
to adapt to tighter credit and
et à
weaker
l'apathie des
markets.
marchés. Les travailleurs ont
Workers
notamment
have shared their jobs
pour éviter
to
que
spare
leurs collègues
colleagues
soient
from
mis à
layoff.
Nombre de Canadiens
Many
sans
Canadians,
emploi
out of work for the first time in their
ont
lives,
entamé une formation
have begun training
afin de se
for a new
préparer à une
career.
nouvelle carrière. Et les ménages de toutes les régions du pays
And households
ont
across
ajusté
the
leurs
country
finances
have
aux
adjusted their
réalités
finances to account for new realities.
Like Canadians themselves, governments across the country have adapted their approaches and joined together in a concerted effort to soften the impact of the recession. Canada's Economic Action Plan is working. Tax cuts and enhanced employment insurance benefits are providing direct support to Canadians who paid into government programs over the years and now need help. From coast to coast to coast, almost 16,000 projects are putting Canadians to work while laying the foundation for future prosperity. These projects range from roads and bridges to colleges and universities, from social housing to our cultural and heritage institutions. Les collectivités et les industries les plus touchées par
Communities
le
and
ralentissement
industries most affected
reçoivent
by
de
the
l'aide.
downturn are being
Les
supported.
entreprises ont repris l'embauche de
Businesses have
personnel.
begun hiring again.
En effet, plus de 135
With the
000
economy
emplois nets
adding
ont
more
été
than
créés depuis
135,000 net new jobs since July 2009.
de partout au pays ont réussi
This
à
has
rétablir
restored
leurs revenus.
incomes, confidence, and hope for the future for families across the country.
Cependant, alors que la confiance en notre économie
But even
croît,
as confidence returns to our economy, it would be a mistake to declare that the recession is completely behind us.
toujours sans emploi.
Too many Canadians still find themselves out of work, and events beyond our borders could yet threaten a fragile
La
recovery.
priorité absolue de notre gouvernement est donc
Our government's top priority is therefore to complete the second year of Canada's Economic Action Plan
à créer des emplois
and to
et à
continue
stimuler la
creating
croissance.
jobs and growth.
Notre gouvernement travaillera en collaboration
Our
avec ses
government will
partenaires
work
de
with its
province
partners
et
in
des
the provinces
territoires
and territories
pour veiller à ce que les projets
to
soient
make
achevés
certain that
maintenant
projects are completed
et au cours de
now
l'année à venir,
and over the coming
au moment
year
où le besoin de stimulation
when the
économique
stimulus is most needed.
Notre gouvernement comprend la
Our
souffrance
government
des familles
understands the
touchées par
real
les pertes
hardships
d'emploi.
experienced by
Conscient
Canadian
que le
families
chômage a
affected by
toujours
job
la
loss.
reprise. Notre
Recognizing that
gouvernement continuera à
unemployment
favoriser
continues
la
to cast a
création
long
d'emplois
shadow over the
et la
recovery,
protection des emplois
our
existants.
government will continue to work on job
Il
creation
prêtera
and
également
job
main
protection.
forte aux jeunes
And
Canadiens
it will
désireux
help young
d'entrer pour la
Canadians
première fois
looking
sur
to
le
enter
marché du
today's
travail,
tough job market for the
leur est
first time
actuellement
to make the transition to work.
Canadians understand that the events of the past year have required governments everywhere to run budgetary deficits. They also know that because our government made the responsible choice to pay down debt in good economic times, Canada's debt levels remain by far the smallest in the G7. And they appreciate that this has allowed our country to enact one of the largest stimulus programs in the world without unduly burdening future generations. At the same time, Canadians live within their means and expect their governments to do the same. Spending designed for a rainy day should not become an all-weather practice. Canadians also realize that a balanced budget is not an end in itself, but the foundation of a strong and resilient economy. In taking responsible steps to reduce the deficit, our government will not repeat the mistakes of the past. Balancing the nation's books will not come at the expense of the pensioners. It will not come by cutting transfer payments for health care and education, or by raising taxes on hard-working Canadians. These are simply excuses for a federal government to avoid controlling spending. Our government's first step toward restoring fiscal balance will not be to wind down stimulus spending as economic activity rebounds. It will work with its provincial, territorial, and municipal partners to ensure that measures under Canada's Economic Action Plan come to an end by March 31st, 2011. And as chair of the G8 and the G20 this year, our government will lead the call for a globally coordinated approach to the withdrawal of economic stimulus. The second step toward restoring fiscal balance will be to restrain federal program spending overall, while protecting growth in transfers that directly benefit Canadians, such as pensions, health care, and education. Our government will lead by example, introducing legislation to freeze the salaries of the Prime Minister, ministers, members of Parliament, and senators. It will freeze the overall budget of ministers' offices and calls on members of both houses of Parliament to do the same. Il gèlera les budgets de fonctionnement des ministères.
It will launch a review of administrative services. It will aggressively review all departmental spending to ensure value for money and tangible results. It will launch a review of administrative services to improve their efficiency and eliminate duplication. It will aggressively review all departmental spending to ensure value for money and tangible results. Our government will also eliminate unnecessary appointments to federal agencies, boards, commissions, and crown corporations.
Industry and ingenuity have been the hallmarks of Canada's economy since the beginning. Aboriginal peoples, voyageurs, and pioneers established the backbone of our modern trading nation. Immigrants armed only with dreams and determination traveled west to open the land that would become our bread basket. Bright minds with bold ideas transformed sound and electricity into the communications network that links our world. But today we face new challenges. Determined new competitors are rising. The relentless pace of technology means that every day there is something newer, faster, better. To succeed in the global economy, Canada must keep step as the world races forward. Our strategy is clear. We must combine the best of our intellectual and natural resources to create jobs, growth, and opportunity. La prospérité de l'économie canadienne.
The success of Canada's economy depends on a skilled and educated workforce. Through Canada's Economic Action Plan, our government will continue to provide enhanced support for skills, apprenticeships, and for all Canadians, especially in the area of the skilled trades. It will expand the opportunities for our top graduates to pursue postdoctoral studies and to commercialize their ideas. Our government will also work hand in hand with Aboriginal communities and provinces and territories to reform and strengthen education and to support student success and provide greater hope and opportunity.
To fuel the ingenuity of Canada's best and brightest and bring innovative products to market, our government will build on the unprecedented investments in Canada's Economic Action Plan by bolstering its science and technology strategy. It will launch a digital economy strategy to drive the adoption of new technology across the economy. To encourage new ideas and protect the rights of Canadians whose research, development, and artistic creativity contribute to Canada's prosperity, our government will also strengthen laws governing intellectual property and copyright. Canada has been a spacefaring nation for nearly 50 years. Our government will extend support for advanced research, development, and prototyping of new space-based technologies, especially in support of Arctic sovereignty. Low taxes are already helping Canada attract the investment needed to turn ideas into products and services. Our government will keep tax rates competitive and low while taking aggressive steps to close unfair tax loopholes and allow a few businesses and individuals to take advantage of hard-working Canadians who pay their fair share. Notre gouvernement ouvrira davantage
Our
le Canada
government will open Canada's doors further to venture capital and to foreign investment in key sectors, including the satellite and telecommunications industries, giving Canadian firms access to the funds and expertise they need. While safeguarding Canada's national security, our government will ensure that unnecessary regulation does not inhibit the growth of Canada's uranium mining industry by unduly restricting foreign investment. It will also expand investment promotion in key markets.
Ensuring the broadest possible market for Canada's goods and services will require the aggressive pursuit of free trade. Our government will implement free trade agreements with Peru and the European Free Trade Association and ask Parliament to ratify new agreements with Colombia, Jordan, and Panama. Given the disappointing results of the Doha round of multilateral trade negotiations and the rapidly evolving global marketplace, our government will aggressively diversify opportunities for Canadian business through bilateral trade agreements. It will continue trade negotiations with the European Union, India, the Republic of Korea, the Caribbean Community, and other countries of the Americas, building on the successful negotiation of new or expanded air agreements with 50 countries around the world. Our government will pursue additional agreements to achieve more competition, more choice for Canadians, and more economic growth. Notre gouvernement tirera aussi parti.
Our government will also build upon the recent agreement the